Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Products. I am super excited for today's interview. I have Diego Granados with us today. He is a PM at Microsoft and has just this incredible background. Networked with him through LinkedIn. But hey, Diego, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brennan. It's a pleasure to be here with you and just chatting about product management.
Absolutely. Did you want to do a quick introduction for yourself and kind of let the listeners know a little bit about your background and some of your passions?
Absolutely. So I am originally from Mexico City. That's what I was born and raised, and I spent most of my life there. I have an electric engineering background for my undergrad, but I actually never worked as an engineer. My first job after undergrad was actually work in business intelligence as a consultant. So it was a very interesting world because I could see a little bit of the engineering side, working with data, databases, navigating this whole data world, and at the same time working with customers. And I soon realized that I really like that aspect of the job, being sort of in the middle, but I never saw projects come through. If you know the consulting life is typically you handing the projects and then move on to the next thing and start it over. That was the same case for me. And at that point, I decided that I needed to enhance my business skills because I was lacking that part. So I decided to come to the US to study my MBA at Duke University, where I learned about product management. And for my internship and full time, I actually spent it at Cisco in California, working as a PM there in not very classic, Cisco stuff like routers and switches, but rather more IoT, tracking devices over the network. So pretty cool stuff. But in the end, I was trying to get into more of cloud software as a service, mobile labs. I wasn't sure if it was B2B, B2C, what I wanted to do. So I started networking and reaching out to other people. And I ended up talking with a bunch of people at Microsoft, and I got really excited. And now I'm here working, at Microsoft in a very surprising space, which is AI and machine learning.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So we have to talk more about AI and machine learning later, but just for listeners, what is product management to you? If you could define it, how would you define product management?
Yes, I think there is a lot of material out there that you can read about product management. I remember when I was doing my own research, I always found this very simple definition, which was product managers are the CEOs of a product. And to some extent, it's true, but it also has a big flaw. The big flaw, and I'll start with that, is that as product managers, the first thing you have to understand is that you are no one's boss. Like nobody, almost most of the time, nobody reports to you, right? You have to actually influence people into, getting the buying to develop the project or the product. So, what is product management? Product management is this role or this function that sits in between a bunch of different key players. From the business side, you've got marketing, finance, you've got the engineering side, you've got, in my case, for machine learning, you've got data scientists. Then you've also got the customers, and you have to, as a product manager, understand your customers, understand what is their problem, and your job is to bring the team together to find a solution to that problem. But like I said before, you're not the boss of anybody in the team, right? You have to influence them to get into that solution. And finally, product management has grown in the technology space, as we know. And so you also see the diagram where PMs sit at the middle of between business, customers, and technology. And so PMs are right at the center. And I think as things have evolved, product management as a role has evolved on its own. And so now you've got things like associate product managers who are, the PMs who are coming from undergrad and learning the PM role and growth over time. You've got the technical PMs who are now more focused on the technical side and maybe more into the day-to-day details of the technical aspect. You've got the business PMs, and things keep evolving, but in general, PMs focus on the customer problem, finding a solution for that problem, and bringing the team together to make the solution happen.
Nice. I love that definition. So how did you get in? I know you touched on it a little bit, but how did you get into your product manager role?
For me, I think one key milestone for me was business school. That being said, it doesn't mean that you need to be in business school to become a product manager, but it was a case for me because a couple of things happened. One, it was the first time for me that I learned about product management. So I didn't know about PM until I actually came to the US to study my MBA. And second, I learned that with my previous experience, I could translate a lot of my skills, and that's where you hear about the transferable skills about how to become a product manager, right? So I look at my previous experience as a consultant in business intelligence, and I looked at things like I was actually working cross-functionally. I was leading different consulting teams. I was working with engineering. I was working with designers to come up with, all the dashboards and whatever we're doing in the consulting firm. I was looking at customer problems and seeing how we could solve them. And so I was already doing a bunch of different things in product management, but I was a consultant. So I took those skills, I crafted stories around those skills in my resume, in phone calls, in coffee chats, in interviews. And I was able to tell anyone saying, hey, I don't have the title of product management, but here's everything that I've done in the past and how that can translate into being a successful product manager. And so through networking, through getting referrals from either alumni from my school or simply by building that rapport in networking, I was able to tell my story in a way that would make sense to a hiring manager that, hey, they might not have the title, but they can do the job and they can be successful.
Nice. So you mentioned networking. Like, can you talk, you do a phenomenal job on LinkedIn, and I see all the great content you put out and really the conversations that you have in the comment section. Like, what advice would you have for someone that is looking to grow their network among PMs?
I think the main thing to think about networking is that networking is a two-way street. I receive a ton of messages and I'm so grateful for that, because for me, it's not about, hey, I want to grow my channel for the sake of growing. I want to actually get to know other product managers, because a few years back when I was trying to do my research on PM, I actually didn't know anyone in product management. So it was hard for me. So I'm trying to be that point of contact where if you don't know anybody in product management, I can help with something, whether it's information or, a coffee chat or something. However, like I said, it's a two-way street. I receive a ton of messages that people ask me, hey, I don't know you, but please refer me to a job at Microsoft. And they forget that on the other side of the computer, there's actually a person, in this case, me. And, I'm always happy to help friends and to help with information and to, jump into a phone call and talk more about product management. But I'm not a referral machine. So number one is, don't forget that networking is a two-way street. You have to, give and see how you can help others. And then one day, naturally, things will come back to you and that other person will give back, right? And then the second thing is that, yes, I think the ultimate goal for a lot of people when it comes to networking is finding a job or getting that referral. But it goes beyond that. What I mean by that is, think that the person that you know today might be working, at a cool place that you want to work for. But in 5 years, they might be, going into another company that, hey, maybe it's your dream company. So the fact that you know them today and you build that rapport and you treat them as, sort of a friendship, doesn't mean that, once the conversation is over, that's it. It's maybe in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, you still know that person and you know who to call to, not only to get a job, but actually to talk about innovation or the cool things that they're doing. And so treat networking not only as something professional to get a job, but actually treat it as a way to get to know other cool people and, just, be a nice person, I would say.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because, it sounds like we had similar experiences. When I was looking to get, trying to find resources around product management, it was so crazy. I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit, and for some reason, I could not find any product managers. And now that I get in the role, I have this vast network of product managers. And the coolest thing is, the coolest thing, I've only been in the role for 4 months now. But it's amazing to me how much people are willing to help each other. Just like you on this podcast today, there's so many PMs on LinkedIn that post content and engage in the comments and answer questions that it might seem like a question that I'm sure you probably hear 5-10 times a day, but for that one user in the comments that you're answering for, they've been desperately searching for that answer, because it's such a undefined role, I guess I would say. There's so many nuances and it kind of varies company to company, but there's no playbook on how to get into it. And that's why I'm so passionate around the networking piece.
Yeah, and I would say that, there's no right way to network. There are plenty of wrong ways to
There are.
network, but there's no right way. And we don't learn it at school. We don't learn it, through our peers at work. And many times this is a trial and error. So for anybody who's listening to this and is afraid to reach out to anyone, just send the message. Like the worst thing that could happen is they never reply. That's it. So if somebody doesn't reply, maybe they were too busy. Maybe they actually never check LinkedIn. Maybe they actually are not the type of person that love engaging with others.
Yeah.
Well, move on to the next one. Try something different. This is about experimenting. So if you get a no or if you don't get any response, don't stop there. Networking is about getting to know others, getting to know people.
Absolutely. And then you mentioned courses in one of your LinkedIn posts lately. I was able to find one or two on Udemy. This was 3 years ago when I first started exploring the product management path. What courses would you recommend for someone that's maybe looking to learn more about product management?
Yes, the first thing that I'll say is that there's no course, or rather, there's no certificate in product management that is going to get you into product management. But product management is not about having a paper that says you are certified in product management. That doesn't exist, because product management, there's no traditional path into it. There's no traditional, degree that you need to study to get into product management. It's about the transferable skills and bringing all your skills together, soft and hard, into this one role that combines everything. And the reason I want to start with that is because a lot of people want to get a certificate in product management, but then realize they actually need not even certificates, but maybe courses on different things. So for example, if you don't have a technical background, no, you do not need to be an engineer to be a product manager, but it never hurts to actually get more experience on the engineering side. And so that will make your conversations with engineering easier, or with data science. So take a course. For example, I recommend Harvard offers free courses on computer science. Just listen to them, take them. It's a really, really great course, and it will help you with the basics. You want to learn about machine learning? There's tons of great courses in Coursera by Stanford, for example. Another thing that I would recommend is knowing about Agile. You don't need a certificate. If you get it, that's awesome. But if not, at least knowing the basics on Agile development. And depending on your interest, you can take courses on mobile apps or business intelligence or data science. And then the other one that I think it's super important, it's about either communication. If you're not great at public speaking or just talking to people, take something about communication, because as a product manager, you'll be talking and communicating in different forms every single day. And the second is about telling stories with data. This is more on the business intelligence side, not so much the data science, but the business intelligence, reporting data, how to report it, how to create dashboards, all that stuff. Because as a PM, you'll be using data to lead without authority, to influence others, to convince without having to, exercise that authority that you actually don't have. So those are the type of courses that I do recommend, instead of, something that will say a certificate in product management.
Nice. You mentioned machine learning. What have you done to learn about artificial intelligence and machine learning? That's a really super interesting field. But just like product management, it doesn't seem like there's one path, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I think, on the, there's the growing your interest part, which is you're going to learn about, reading articles or news about AI and machine learning, and it's always interesting. And it's usually the fancy stuff, like, oh, this company created this AI software that is the best chatbot in the world, and what's not. So like those type of news are very super interesting and really catchy and easy to digest. And so definitely reading about those, it just reminds you that the power of AI and machine learning, it's huge. Then when you start getting into the details, there's the math part about it, that yes, you don't have to be an expert as a PM in the AI machine learning world, but you do have to understand what's happening behind that black box that we will call AI machine learning. And so there are great courses on Coursera to understand at least the basics of what is machine learning, what is deep learning, what's the difference, what different types of algorithms exist, and then even getting into the details of what is precision, what is recall, what is F1, and so on and so forth. And so there are definitely basics that you need to know. If I can compare it to let's say building software or building apps, like the way that you as a PM in working with engineering have to know what an API is. You have to know your basics in machine learning, about what is a confusion metrics, and what are the metrics that machine learning models report on. And then there's a step, which is learning how to build machine learning model. While as a PM you won't be actually building them, it's always good to know, just in the same way that with engineering it's good to know at least the basics on how a mobile app is built or a website. In machine learning, if you take a course, there are fantastic courses on, sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, but Kaggle website. They have fantastic courses for data science, and some competitions to learning how to build them will actually just make you feel more comfortable when data scientists talk about the algorithms and what's happening behind the scenes.
Nice. So what advice do you have for an aspiring or new product manager?
This is a marathon. Getting into product management, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. A lot of people, I've been talking in the past months with tons of people who are aspiring product managers, and they typically obsess over the resume. And they think that just because they didn't hear back from the company or a recruiter, they believe that they need to keep improving on the resume. At some point, stop looking at your resume and actually start building a project. And the reason I say that is because getting into product management, sometimes it's by accident, by luck, by a need in the company, and by effort, and by so many other ways. And so if you want to maximize your chances of getting into product management, go and build a project. And this is not about learn how to code and code an app. This is about look for a problem. Think of it from a product management perspective. Then try to solve it as a product manager. Like, what's the business need? Build a case on top of it, and then interview users, run a survey, design a prototype. If you know how to code, that's awesome. Go and build it. If you don't know how to code, you can outsource it or just build a mock-up, build something easy. There are so many tools out there, and present your business case and publish it online and get feedback and keep iterating on that. Because when you get into a conversation with a hiring manager or a recruiter, if you don't have the experience, you can always say, hey, check out my portfolio. I may not have the experience on my resume, but I built this. And it will show that you have those transferable skills that apply to product management. So stop obsessing over your resume and start building a project.
I love that you said that. It took me over 3 years to get into product management. And, one of the things that I think helped me get in, it kind of goes to what you're saying. I joined a nonprofit as the board of directors, and then became a product manager for the nonprofit, and built solutions and interviewed stakeholders and found problems and ended up delivering a pretty cool inventory system for the nonprofit, and that's really helped them serve and report on the activities. So I can't agree more. And I would say that serving a nonprofit, a lot of people don't even think of that. I don't know, but you guys have so many, everyone, if you've had a career for 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years, you have so many skills that could benefit a nonprofit. Because a lot of times what people will see is that you'll join these nonprofits, especially the grassroots ones, and it's at the end of the day, it's usually just a founder and a close small board of directors that are super passionate about serving their community, but don't necessarily have that skill set that you've built up from years in business or years in leadership. And you going in there, whether you're designing, like building out email marketing sequences or building websites or inventory system, whatever it may be, you can create some pretty awesome projects for nonprofit organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. You said it right. Volunteering, whether it's for a nonprofit or even a startup, like volunteering and building those projects, it's so powerful. And it tells the story in a way that you can say, I've done all of this and I believe I can be a product manager. And here's everything of why I, can hit the ground running to be a PM. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then document. I think you explained a little bit around documentation, but tell the story online, tell the business case online. That's one of the things that I missed, that I didn't do, that I assembled during the interview process, and I went back and did. But it would have been so powerful to network on LinkedIn and tell that story ahead of time in real time. You talked about, in another one of your posts, you talked about people and some of the challenges of product management. I think that oftentimes, based on the conversations that I've seen, people are looking for like a book solution or like a course solution, like we've talked about, but we forget about the communication piece or the leadership piece or the people piece. What's your experience been in your PM role dealing with people?
People are hard and unpredictable. And sometimes people have a good day and they can be the best mood, or people have a bad day and it doesn't matter what you tell them, is not going to happen. And we forget about that detail, just like we were talking about networking, and the people forget that in the other side of the computer, there's a person. People forget that in the room, in the meeting, in the call, in the other side of the email, there's somebody reading that. So communication is not only about knowing how to write an email, which surprisingly, yes, it's super important. And so many people are bad at writing emails. Like if you write an email to an executive that is a 10-minute read, they're simply not going to look at it. So knowing how to write emails, yes, is important, but it's also about empathy. Not only empathy towards our users and building better products, but empathy towards the team and the person on the other side of the screen. As product managers, we communicate all the time in all shapes and forms. Like I said, through an email, through a text message, a chat in the in the tool that you use in your business, face to face, a phone call. We communicate all the time, constantly, and it's so important during interviews. When you go into a PM interview, people think that, oh, I just need to nail the case question and boom, I got the job. It's not about that. We also assess communication, because we want to make sure that if we put you in front of a team, you're going to do great. And it's not just for you, but it's also for the team. And we need to know that there's a good flow in how you communicate your ideas, your structure. You can give clarity when there are unknowns. It's the dealing with ambiguity part. It's how you communicate those roadblocks. How do you press forward into the project when things are going not the way that you expected, and how you communicate that to your team, to leadership, to your boss, to and everybody else. And so communication and people are super important, and it's something that I believe a lot of candidates forget when they're interviewing or just reaching out.
Yeah, that's such a good point. As we wrap this up, do you have any book recommendations that you might have or do you have a favorite book that has helped you along the way?
So I have two recommendations.
Nice.
The one that helped me a lot when I was doing my research, it has a few years now, but it's Cracking the PM Interview. It's an orange book, probably everybody has seen it, and it's really good because even though it's been out for a few years, for those who have almost no clue about product management or just started researching about it, it gives you details from different PMs at different companies and what they do. And you hear these stories about how some of them became PMs by accident, or by there was a need in the business, or by just building a project themselves. So you hear all of this. It touches a little bit on the interviews, but that's not kind of the main point. It's more about understanding product management. And then the second one, which is a book that I love, is The Design of Everyday Things. And for those of you that haven't read that book, it talks about why certain things are designed in a great way, and why, and I'll give you an example, why doors are so badly designed. And you wouldn't think about doors, but when you read chapter 1, or I think it's chapter 2, you become obsessed with how doors and so many things that we use in our everyday lives are so badly designed. And we have to over time we simply became okay with the concept of a bad design, and we just use things the way they are, but they're not supposed to be that way. We can do so much better at design. And it's not a book for designers. I think it's a book for everyone, especially in product management, because you have to think that yes, you have to solve your customer problems, and yes, you have to make it profitable, and yes, you have to build a great fancy solution, but you can't forget that your customers are the ones who are going to use it, and you have to design for them, not for your team, not for your designers, not for your boss, but you have to design for your customers. So those two book recommendations, I think, helped me a lot through the years.
I love your recommendations, man. I actually have both of those books. So especially, Cracking the PM Interview, I've read a lot of chapters and different stories in that book as I was fighting my way into product management. So anything I didn't ask, any questions or any answers that maybe I forgot to ask, or anything else you want to add?
Hmm. I would say the last thing that I want to add is, and this is because I also get a lot of the same question in different forms, but don't forget that really getting into product management, there's no traditional path. Whether you are a project manager today, or in marketing, or in sales, or in engineering, or don't have a technical background, it's not about your background. It's about those transferable skills and how you package that story into something that when you show your resume, your projects, talk to recruiters, talk to interviewers, you show them that you bring all those skills to the table to be a great and successful product manager. So don't feel that because you see especially a lot of people with computer science background that, oh, you need to become a computer scientist or you need a master's degree in computer science. It's not true. It's about those transferable skills. Some companies may prefer computer scientists, and that's okay. It's that company. They're not the only company in the world. And then the second thing that I'll mention is, I know it's always fantastic to hear all these big company names. I've been there. I think we've all been there. But you have no idea how many startups are looking for product managers and willing to give a chance to, more inexperienced product managers. Take those opportunities, grow. The big names will come and go. And if it's your goal to be in that big name, I'm sure you can do it. But if you want to start product management, don't forget about all the startups and mid-sized companies that will give you an opportunity. Take it, learn it, and keep growing.
Man, such great advice. I can't stress enough that there is no traditional way into product management. And just so I'm a licensed barber in Oregon, California, and Colorado, and I was a retail manager. Then I ran a multi-unit retail. I've served a nonprofit, and none of that. Putting that on my resume and just as a retail manager, I want to be a product manager, probably wouldn't make sense. But it's all about that storytelling and really understanding the skills that you have. I mean, such great gems. Where can people follow you? Where can people connect with you and get more of these gems? You have quite the social media presence built out, and so many great resources.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to share. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Just search for Diego Granados. You'll find me there. I have a YouTube channel where I post most things about product management basics, plus interview prep, and I interview other PMs in different companies. And you can find me again as PM Diego Granados. And recently, I've been building, or rather, experimenting with TikTok and Instagram. Same username, PM Diego Granados, where I'm trying to answer common questions and just leave a comment. I'll try to answer it. This is still an experiment, so we'll see where it takes me, but it's fun to just help others getting to product management.
That's awesome. I'm definitely going to have to check you out on TikTok and Instagram. I didn't know you had those platforms, so I will follow you there now. Everyone else should follow you across the board, and I'll plug everything in the comments or in the description of the video. So thank you so much for your time today.
On the contrary, thank you for inviting me, and good luck. Everyone, reach out to us if you get any questions.
Absolutely.